press? What do I press? Start streaming and start recording on OBS.
You do that first, right away.
Okay.
And then you have your Facebook Live opened up, ready to hit go live, and then on OBS, you click on the little, the little circle right below Facebook.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
You have to have that other Facebook. You have to have Facebook open with ready to hit go live all the way to there, and then you have to click that dot, and then it'll send that camera to your Facebook Live, and then you hit go live, and you're good.
Did you hack my computer?
Nope.
Okay, hold on. So when I'm clicking on Facebook output, that little thing's not turning green.
Says your.
Go back to it.
It's not turning green anymore. When I click on it.
Just go back to the Facebook.
All right. I put in like the name.
You don't have to redo the stream. Go back to OBS.
Okay.
And then go into the settings right by the heart.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then go to your I can't see it. Go move me over. Go to main outputs.
Okay.
And then remove Facebook.
Remove?
Yeah, remove it.
Okay.
Then go back to your other Facebook. Go down to the Facebook.
So hit
Facebook,
Okay, so I removed it.
Go to Facebook.
Okay.
And then go down to advanced settings. Click that little arrow.
Yep.
Where does it say consistent?
Persistent stream key?
Persistent. Always keep that on, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll copy that stream key.
Yep.
And then go back to OBS.
Okay.
And then go to the settings by the heart.
Yep.
And then go to main outputs.
Add output.
Add output.
Yep.
And go to Facebook.
Okay. Server stream key.
And then paste that stream key in that bar.
Okay. Created output.
And then that should work.
Okay.
Yeah, and then now try that.
Okay, it turned green.
And then go back to Facebook.
Yep.
And then go up, scroll up. It should be on there.
Yep. It's on there.
But yeah, if that ever happens, that's what you do.
Okay, you gotta do the sound.
I don't need to do that.
Cool.
All right, bro. Appreciate it.
Make sure you go to comments so if everybody's good. Sorry about that.
You're good.
When someone of your caliber comes, I get nervous.
Stop it.
All right. Ready? Go.
Sober Talk with Brother Brandon, the Raging Cajun. It's the weekend, baby.
Monday. Yeah. Welcome, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Sober Talk with Brothers Brandon, the Raging Cajun. It's Monday, baby. Man, I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July weekend. Didn't get your hand blown off by fireworks. Didn't get in a boating accident from drinking and boating. And didn't get in a drunk driving accident from drinking and driving. And if you can't stay sober, just remember this. Catch your Uber.
That's right.
But tonight's show is being sponsored by New Freedom Center and Tied for Second Sober Living, Serenity Bridge Sober Living, Prairie Recovery Center, the House of Fade, Treasures of the Sea and Earth, The Ridge in Fargo, North Dakota, Treatment Center, Preferred Heating and Air, and all the other great people that love to support Sober Talk. But we had a great weekend, and I got a special guest, two specials on that today. I got the Commissioner of Recovery and Reentry, Jonathan Holtz. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. It's
Good.
great to be here.
Thanks for coming. This is a man with the patience of steel.
I don't think my kids think that, but I'm glad you think that. It's great. Man, just plugging away, living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yep,
Uh, I got a few gifts for you. I got some J Dobo original spice. Shout out to my brother J Dobo, the leading spice in the land. If you ain't sneezing, it ain't seasoning, baby. Also, I got a special custom made clock with your face on it.
that,
And that's on behalf of Sober Talk and Cornerstone Woodworks.
that's wild, man. That's awesome. Thank you.
So, Jonathan, how long have you been sober?
17 years.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you.
Man, 17 years.
Yep.
How long did it take for you to pass a breathalyzer test?
Whew. How long did it take me to pass?
No, so I know a guy, I'm not saying no names. It took him 3 months to pass a drug test.
It was not that long for me. Yeah, it was a couple days after I got my treatment.
Science. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You got some hidden pockets in something.
yeah.
Yep. So, where are you originally from?
Born and raised in Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Grand Forks?
Yep, the Red
Yep.
River Valley.
I'm a UND.
That's right. Home of the flagship university of the great state of North Dakota.
Don't you have an Air Force base there?
We have an Air Force base there. It's the Grand Forks Air Force Base.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's a,
C-17s?
it's a fantastic, it's a great base. It's a great community, great university. I love living there, man.
Right.
Yeah.
How did you like having to wear the fighting Sioux and the fighting is it the Fighting Hawks?
It's the Fighting Hawks.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
But
Look.
I got the opportunity to go to a UND hockey game.
Yeah, I saw
Uh,
you.
And then I ran into you, of all people. He's sitting there with this fly jacket on, looking like Zach Morris. You know what I mean? A senior, you know, Mr. Alumni. And I got to go there, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and now we'll bump into each other on the concourse, both wearing our jackets.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yep. I love it though.
Yeah.
Thanks for that jacket,
Of
bro.
course, man. Yeah, absolutely.
How was it growing up for you, Jonathan?
Man, growing up was good. Like I said, I love Grand Forks. I have great parents. You know, they gave me every chance like at success. Like I had a really good upbringing, you know, great siblings, lived in a good neighborhood. Um, yeah, man, it was good. Like I have just like a ton of really fond memories of my childhood and it's interesting because like you asked me that question now, like I live in Grand Forks, not far from where I grew up. And like I think back and like I'm trying to create the same fond memories for my kids in the same place that I had them 40 years ago. So
You know all the good ice fishing spots?
I know, I know miles,
Yeah.
and I'll take you sometime, but I'm not going to broadcast where
Okay.
that's at.
I'll talk
Like,
after.
yeah,
You know. Um, Growing up, did you have any spiritual life?
yeah. You know, raised Lutheran, went to church, got confirmed, the whole thing, and so yeah, you know, very much religion was absolutely a big part of my growing up, and
Did you
uh,
believe in God growing up?
yeah, you bet, absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You know, I think like many of us, you know, you go through patches of questioning stuff, right? I think when I was in treatment, I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, but like I think I really honed in on that a little bit too,
Hmm.
and that spirituality really got me through some tough times, I think for sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Because they say an atheist is someone that never believed in anything
yeah,
besides their self.
right,
And an agnostic is someone that believed in God at one point, but they kind of turned their back
sure,
away, you know.
yeah,
And that's how I feel I was.
yeah.
Because soon as I started putting substances in my body, it started putting me further and further away from God,
Yeah,
blocking the sunlight of the spirit.
sure. Yep. I get
Um,
that.
so growing up, playing sports?
Yep. Yeah, I just played as many sports as I could. Just loved all things sports. I mean, you grow up in a town like Grand Forks, and I mean, there's no pro sports in North Dakota. So
Right.
UND is it. So like, we
Right.
went to every sporting event we
You
could, and
think North Dakota ever have a pro sport?
I don't know, man. We don't need it. We got UND sports, which that's good enough. Like, we don't need it. So
So
yeah.
is there a rivalry between UND and NDSU?
Yes.
Do they
Yeah.
play each other?
They play each other in football and basketball and
Okay.
volleyball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't stand them.
What do you think's a better school though?
Well, it's not even close.
Yep.
It's UND. It's not even close.
Yep. Do they offer different degrees?
Yeah, they do. And I say this like it's a rivalry.
Right.
NDSU is a good. I have a ton of friends that went to NDSU.
Okay.
It's a good school.
Okay.
It's just not UND, man.
Right.
It's just not UND.
So UND is where it's at.
UND is where it's at.
Yep.
Sorry to all my NDSU friends. I love you.
So after high school, what did you do? You went to UND?
Yeah, just briefly. Yeah, I went, started working in restaurants, and
Mhm.
and I did that in high school too. And then it was shortly after I started college. Like I worked at a restaurant in Grand Forks called Sanders, which is a fine dining restaurant, and
It's
like
still there?
it's not anymore. Nope. But like I really fell in love with the industry there.
Right.
Like it was like, okay, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. Or at least, at the time, that's what I thought. So yeah, I dropped out of college and started working full time. I said I want to own restaurants someday, and best education I can get is working full time
Hmm.
um, in restaurants. So I just kept doing that, and I did everything. I washed dishes. I was a busboy, server, bartender, host. Worked my way into management, and then just kept working up. Yeah,
So what's the secret to a successful restaurant? Customer service?
yeah, for sure.
Time, like the time the server arrives
Yeah,
when they sit down, or
I mean, it's everything, but it's like we've always thought like it's the paying attention to like the little details, right? So
right,
like you want whoever leave when a customer leaves, they want to feel like they've been taken care of,
right,
that their needs were met, and that sometimes means you say no to crazy requests, or you say yes to crazy requests. I mean, right?
yep.
That like normally, no, that's not on the menu, but yeah, we're gonna make it for you if we have the ability to do it.
Do you have frog?
We don't anymore. We
Frog
used
legs.
to have frog legs. We don't anymore, man. We don't. We couldn't get the good people in Grand Forks, Fargo, and Bismarck to really catch on to the frog legs. So
Right.
we tried it, but didn't last long. So
That was been my first suggestion.
I know. Yeah,
Let's get some
we
crab
have a
legs up in
special every now and then still, but yeah,
Right.
yeah. So just got into the toasted frog, and that was opened our first one in May of 2006. I was 27 years old, um, and and that was kind of I would say the start of my journey, which led me to sitting at this table with you today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, how was your drinking though? How did it progress?
Yeah, I think for a lot of, um, I would say, late high school up through sort of like those college years, 18 to 22 and beyond, and I think slowly progressed a little bit, but
Hmm.
was never, it didn't get to the point where it was a problem or it was getting in the way of things for
Hmm.
me. But it changed like after the first Toasted Frog opened. Like
Right.
it changed for me, and for me it was like I was making more money than I'd ever made before. I was setting my own schedule as a business owner. I
Hmm.
had 24/7 access to a full bar,
Right.
right? And like
Recipe for
it
disaster.
is a terrible combination for
Right.
an alcoholic, right?
Right.
And so like things got bad for me like pretty quick. It was,
You ever woke up the next day in the place?
that didn't happen to me, but like I was there,
Yeah.
later than I should have been plenty, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it was a year after we'd been open before I went to treatment, and it was
Hmm.
just kind of one of those things where, like, I grew up in my dad was a guy who didn't say much, he never raised his voice, so when he spoke, it meant something, right?
Right.
And I remember, he sat down with me and my business partner, the three of us. I remember exactly the table we were sitting at in the restaurant, and my dad just kind of looking at me and saying, like, "Hey, I'm worried about you. This isn't good.
Hmm.
We got to do something about it."
Right.
So it was just kind of an eye-opening moment for me. Like my dad saying something like it's bad here.
Right.
So
You were
so
slipping.
I had slipped,
Right.
right? I had slipped, and I was showing up late for work. I was skipping out on duties. I was kind of being a slob. I wasn't doing laundry. I mean, it was all the things like
Hmm.
that I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing, and I was doing it.
Right.
Um, so my life had become unmanageable.
Any DUIs?
No,
Me either.
fortunately,
I don't know. I thought it was legal to drive drunk in New
yeah,
Orleans.
we talk about that in treatment, right? Like
Mhm.
how lucky, I mean, all of us that were there, how lucky we were to not kill anybody, right?
Right.
So like, no, I was fortunate that that never happened to me, but yeah, then so anyway, went to treatment and fortunately I had a business partner that was supportive and said like, go, get yourself better, take
Mhm.
the time you need, job's waiting for you when you get back.
Was he
I
a
love it.
drinker?
Yeah, but not,
He didn't cross the invisible
his
line.
life was manageable. My
Right.
life was unmanageable,
Right.
right?
Powerlessness
Yeah.
and unmanageability.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, went to dad drove me and checked me in, checked into Project Turnabout in Granite Falls, Minnesota.
Okay.
So spent
It's
28
what
days there.
county? Where's that on the map?
It's like southwest Minnesota. So like
Okay.
down kind of adjacent more, close to South Dakota and that
Mhm.
range in the southern part. But so it was a good, it was a good 5 hour haul from Grand Forks. So it's not like I could walk out the door and walk
Right.
home.
Was it like in the
You know,
woods?
Granite Falls is a smaller town.
Hmm.
The treatment center is sort of on the edge of town. So yeah, it was kind of, it was peaceful and serene, right? And yeah, so spent 28 life-changing days there.
The first time I ever heard the Serenity Prayer
Yeah,
was in treatment, and
really,
because
yeah,
at the
same.
at the
Yeah,
end of every day, at the end of our session,
yep.
we would all hold hands, and they had the Serenity Prayer on the wall, and I used to peek with one eye open, because
So you
I
got
never even that before.
yeah,
And so, but yeah, I can relate to it.
yeah.
Did you gain any weight when you were in treatment?
I lost a bunch of weight when I was in treatment,
Okay.
and I think for a couple reasons. Number one, like in treatment, like they introduce like the importance of just moving your body on a daily
Mhm.
basis, right? So I
Mhm.
wasn't doing that, right? So um, but also, I rum was my drink.
Okay. Rum and coke.
Yeah, rum and diet, yeah. And there's a lot of calories in rum. So,
Mhm.
you cut out a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like I
That
trimmed up a
cane
little bit.
sugar
Yeah, I trimmed up. So
come from the island.
right, right. So I actually lost weight, because I just started to develop healthier habits.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember when I was in treatment, they had a big bowl of peppermints, like
Oh,
those soft, big fat peppermint.
hmm.
And I probably ate about, I don't know, 17,000 of them.
Yeah, well, those are good, man. Those are good.
Two of them every 5 minutes.
Like, yeah. Yeah.
So you get out of treatment, then what?
Came back home to Grand Forks, checked into sober living
Okay.
at Douglas Place.
What year was
Um,
that?
what year was that?
2006,
2008.
8.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, 2008. And spent 60 days there. And
Is that place still open?
it's not. No,
Was that the first sober living in North Dakota?
well, this was in Minnesota. It was across the river in East Grand Forks, but it
Okay.
was the only sober living like in the area. So like
Right.
if I wanted to live in a sober living house, like that was it. And thankfully they had a bed for me. Um, I mean, I needed it. Like
Mhm.
that was, I tell people like that was probably the most important 60 days of my recovery, right? I
Right.
mean, like getting out of treatment, okay, got freedom. I'm setting my own schedule again, but not too much freedom,
Right.
right? I mean, just like sort of like a step down.
Yep.
Being around other guys that had been in sober living at that point for 60 days
Hmm.
and having an example to look at and say like, oh, okay, they're happy,
Right.
right? They've been out, they're 2 months ahead of me in this process and they're still happy. I want that. So that's
Right.
good. But also just having a safe place.
Hmm.
Like I can't stress enough to people the importance of like having safe places when
Once.
you're in early recovery. I
Yep.
mean, and that's not just like the roof over your head where you're living. Like your workplace has to be safe.
Right.
Your community, your friend group, the people you're surrounding yourself with,
Right.
there has to be a safe group of people.
Hmm.
I didn't need everybody around me to stop drinking. I
Hmm.
needed them to understand
Hmm.
me and understand what I was going through
Right.
and be willing to stop doing things if I asked them to.
Hmm.
That's what I needed. So I needed that safety, and sober living provided that for me for sure.
Right. Yeah. Same for me. Shout
Yeah.
out to Hope Manor Sober Living.
Hope man are doing good work.
I went to New Freedom Center Treatment Center right here in Bismarck, North Dakota,
Yep.
and then I went to Hope Manor, and yeah, they gave me structure. They
Yep.
made me get a sponsor. They made me get a home group,
all that. Yep,
start going to meetings.
you bet.
Um, believe it or not, I still got my meeting card from 8 years ago
That's awesome.
in my wallet.
That's awesome.
It's in here somewhere. Yeah.
Man, you gotta clean that thing out. What do you
Man,
got going on?
I ain't never had I never had a cowboy wallet before. Hey, the guys at NBSP made this for me in the leather jacket.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Shout out to the guys at NBSP.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eddie from Prison Academy, Fellowship
That's awesome.
Academy. But yeah, it's in here somewhere.
Right
But
on.
I laminated it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
so I never stopped going to meetings.
all that stuff is important, man. I mean, I think I set the goal of doing 100 meetings in 100 days right when I got out, and I did that and worked the 12 steps and got a sponsor and and having the sober living, to be able to do that in
Right.
um and finding my community back home in Grand Forks.
Hmm.
That's what I think that's like I said, I think that's the most critical time of my recovery for sure, looking
Right.
back on it.
So how did you get into like Recovery Reinvented?
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of speaking or
It's crazy how this
because me and you met at Recovery Reinvented
we
last
did.
year when I had a booth.
We did, yeah.
I was broadcasted live.
So I met First Lady Catherine Bergam back in 2016
Yep.
when
Did she order the frog legs?
what no, she wasn't. It wasn't. I met her at a random event. Like it wasn't anything that had to do with recovery or anything
That's
like
how I
that.
met her.
And it was before she'd gone public
Hmm.
with her story,
Hmm.
and it was before I'd gone public with my story. But like I'd shared it with certain people and she'd shared it with, a few people. So like two people introduced us and said, you two should meet. And just in the private meeting between the two of us, we just, shared that we were both in recovery
Right.
and kind of formed that bond. And then a few months later, when Governor Burgum was elected, and the first lady decided that she was going to go public with her story, make that her platform, eliminating stigma, she created the Office of Recovery Reinvented.
Okay.
And as a part of that, she asked me to serve on the advisory council for that. She set up an advisory council of 6 North Dakotans with different stories that were in recovery to sort of advise what this thing would be.
Right.
Because she was creating something from scratch. So that's how I got involved with Recovery Reinvented. Started going to the events. 2018, they asked me to be a keynote speaker to share a little bit of my story and sort
Mhm.
of what we'd done at the restaurants to have recovery friendly workplaces and things like that. So I did that.
Where was that at? Where was the location?
That was at Bismarck Civic Center here. So,
Okay.
yep,
In
yep.
2016?
2018 when I spoke. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
That was the year I got sober.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and that was awesome. And then, in 2022, the former director of Recovery Reinvented, Jenny Olson, who did groundbreaking work in this space for the state. She was the first executive director for the office.
Hmm.
She reached out to me and said, like, "Hey, I'm moving on. I got this new opportunity. Can you help me find someone for this job? Because
Hmm.
And I said, "Well, tell me about the job a little bit." So she described it, and I said, "Well, I want that job."
Hmm.
So I just kind of asked, like, "Hey, is this a role for me?" And fortunately for me, Governor Burgum and First Lady Burgum chose me to step into that role, and that's how I got involved with it. So just kind of staying, it's crazy to me, and I tell people this all the time. Like you never know what is going to happen in your life by just being your authentic self.
Right.
I've never had any dreams of like working in the recovery space or anything like that,
Right.
but I just started telling my story. This is who I am. This is what I went through,
Hmm.
and I just owned it and was proud of it.
Hmm.
And one thing led to another, and like now I got a clock with my face on it, So like I mean,
That's the bobblehead.
right? Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's sort of how I got involved with state government is just kind of sharing my story, getting connected with Bergams, and then um when Governor Armstrong was elected, um Kelly and I have known each other since college days. I've known
Okay.
him for 25
Is he from
years.
Grand Forks?
He's not, but he went to school there. So
Okay.
he went to college there because he's smart. So he went to college at UND, of
Mhm.
course. So we knew each other from back then, and just started having conversations with him. Fortunately for us, for all of us in recovery in this state, Kelly understands this. Governor Armstrong really understands the importance of this.
Mhm.
He understands, he's a former criminal defense attorney now, and also has, a background in understanding mental health, substance use disorder. So he understands that this is important. So he created this new position, and asked me to serve. And in January, I accepted, and we've been off and running.
So are you considered a politician?
Heck no. Heck no. No,
I mean,
I'm an appointed.
yeah.
I'm not elected. I'm
Oh,
appointed.
okay.
It'd be
That's
bad.
the difference, right?
That's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
still get to wear the cool buttons and stuff.
I do. I some of the buttons.
Um, so how does that feel?
It's awesome, man. I tell you what, like I tell people like it's exhilarating and terrifying all at the same time. Exhilarating because like it's really important work that I care deeply about.
Hmm.
So just like the thought of me being able to make a small difference in this space for North Dakotans, it's like it's very humbling and it's an honor. And I say it's terrifying, not in a bad way. I say that because we're talking about life and death issues here. We're talking about people's lives. You and I
Right,
both know that,
right,
not everybody comes out on the other side of this, right?
mhm,
So that means we have work to do. So like, I don't take it lightly.
right.
I don't like um, my wife and kids will tell you that, um, I don't, there's not a time when I won't answer my phone.
Hmm.
We don't know when those calls are coming in, but
Hmm.
that's my job now. And I love it. So it's crazy to me to think like that I'm working in this space still, because like it's not to reflect on like how I got here. You
Are
know,
you more of like an advisor, or you like what is your responsibilities?
yeah,
Like,
it's
are you over like anything to do with recovery in North Dakota?
so it's we're still honestly kind of figuring that out in a lot of ways.
Right.
The governor said like, look, I want to prioritize this as a cabinet level position because we know it's important. But like we have like the behavioral health division for our state is incredible.
Hmm.
Like I've got to travel the country when I was with Recovery Reinvented and connect with a lot of people from around the country.
Hmm.
And I'll put our behavioral health division up against any in the country,
Hmm.
like in terms of the work that they're doing. So for me, like I'm not a clinician. I'm not a,
Oh, that's
doctor. So a lot of my job when it comes to that um, is marketing the good work that they do, making sure that people know about the programs that are out there
hmm.
and how they can access them
Hmm.
and convincing people, right? I think my sort of wheelhouse and what I'm good at is bringing people together that might not otherwise be working together to try
Hmm.
to solve complicated issues, right?
Hmm.
So I think one of the reasons that the governor created my position is understanding that, and this, like the behavioral health world, the addiction world, and the corrections world and reentry, the systems can be very complicated, difficult for people to navigate.
Right.
And when you're in early recovery and you're just trying to get back on your feet,
Nothing's going right.
it can be hard, right? So
Right.
like I think one of the things that the governor wants me to do is just to make sure that all those different players in the system across the state, whether, from state to county to city to private providers, we're working together to make sure that people aren't slipping through the cracks,
I
right?
understand.
So, as someone is re-entering society when they leave prison and they're getting set up back in their hometown, wherever that may be, that they they don't get lost in the shuffle of, you know, moving from the state system to the county system or
Right.
something like that. So a lot of what I've done since I started is just kind of I've been on a listening tour of the state, just meeting with anybody who wants to take a meeting with me, judges, state's attorneys, defense attorneys,
Hmm.
county sheriffs, treatment providers, and just saying, hey, what's working, what's not working,
Right.
to try to get a sense of like how we can collaborate, because the answer to a lot of these problems is always going to be more money. Like if we had more money, we can dump more money into this.
Right.
But the fact of
That's
the
the
matter is
easy part.
but the fact of the matter is like money is a finite resource. Like we don't have unlimited money.
Right.
So we're gonna have to figure out other ways to work together,
Mhm.
right? To ultimately, someone asked me earlier today in a meeting that I was in, said like, what's the goal of your position? And like, there's a lot of them, but I don't say this like it sounds cliche, but I don't say it flippantly. Like, I mean, we're talking about saving lives here.
Right.
It's ultimately what this is about.
Hmm.
We want fewer people dead. You can't treat someone if they're dead.
Correct.
So like that's the goal. Like we want more people alive and we want more people to come on the other side and live happy, healthy, productive lives.
So what are your thoughts on like the whole peer support movement?
It's the peer
How did
support.
that get started in North Dakota?
Well, again, credit to our behavioral health division
Hmm.
who really like catapulted the peer support. You know, Pam Sagnis and her team, I'm telling you guys, like they're incredible. Like, because they truly understand the reason why we do what we do. They're people focused. They're people focused employees, right?
Right.
Who and the peer support thing, like for North Dakota, why it's so critical is like as much as we would like to have a licensed addiction counselor in every corner of the state, it's just not the case.
Right.
You know, you live in Bismarck, you can find one,
Hmm.
but you know, if you live in Ray, North Dakota, you
Hmm.
probably don't have one on Main Street, right?
Hmm.
So having peer supports across the state that can reach out and help somebody when they really need it the most.
Hmm.
Um, I think they play just such a critical role in the continuum of care. Peer supports we're not trying to replace clinicians and
Right.
professionals. We're trying to keep people alive and on a program until they can get to a clinician, right?
Right. And get them resources.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think is so important is like, you know, the lived experience that peer supports have.
Hmm.
I mean, like that resonates with people that are trying to get sober.
Right.
People want to talk a lot. Most people want to talk to someone who's been in their shoes.
Right.
You know, I mean, how can you be telling me what to do if you don't know what
Yeah.
I've gone through, right? So just having a touch point for people when they're making really hard decisions and when they're really struggling, to be able to have someone that they can talk to that said like, "Hey man, I've been where you're at.
Hmm.
You can get there. Like, I understand what you're going through. And I'm not just saying that, like, I've been there." I think that's a really, really important role of peer support specialists. So, like, the peer support program in North Dakota is the envy of the nation.
Right.
Like, because we've put a strong emphasis on it. Credit goes to our behavioral health division, credit goes to a previous administration and to this administration, and credit goes to the legislature.
Is it in
Uh,
other states?
it is in some form or another.
Yeah.
Every state kind of has their own thing.
Hmm. The buddy program or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, whatever it might be, and so I think, I mean, it's a best practice, right? So I think other states have adopted it for sure, but in terms of like our size state, the population here, and what we've been able to do in terms of the number of peer supports we've been able to train,
Hmm.
and and for a lot of people, it's become a career path.
Hmm.
I'm getting back on my feet. I'm sober again. This can be a career for me if I can be a peer support and help people. So
Right.
it's uh it's it's done a really, really, really good job of helping the system and helping people in North Dakota.
What do you think messes people's lives up more? Alcohol or drugs? Or
I
both?
I I think it's both. I think it's such a as you and I mean you guys know, like just like everybody's recovery is different. I still have yet I met thousands of people in recovery.
Hmm.
I haven't met two people that have the same recovery path yet.
Right.
I haven't met two people that have the same active addiction path yet either.
Right.
So I think it's situational.
Hmm.
I don't think it's just the drug. I think it's or the alcohol. I think it's trauma and life circumstances
Hmm.
and what you're facing, and it's a series of things, genetics for
Right.
some people, right? Uh,
Geographic.
it,
What about
it's
like seasonal depression?
it's all factored in, right? So
Right.
I think it's just so individualized that you can't. It's just tough to say like one's worse than the other,
Right.
because like if you ask me, like for me, like alcohol was way worse, but that was me. That was my situation. I think it's different for everybody.
Right.
Um, so yeah.
Um,
Excuse me.
well, thanks for sharing that with us. Um, what was the best UND game in any sport
Ooh,
that you've ever been at
oh man,
of
that's
all time of your years on Earth? Like a championship or a last minute win?
yeah. Well, UND's won national championships, but like I think back to my days when I was younger in the old Memorial Football Stadium outdoors playing NDSU and beating NDSU,
In the
like
snow?
in the snow and cold,
Yeah.
specifically in high school. there's a famous picture of like the goalpost being torn down with one of my friends hanging on the goalpost from high school after beating NDSU. Like I'll never forget that game. I'll never forget, you know, because NDSU had dominated us for quite a while and we were sort of getting back over the hump now. So like that game, all it was crazy. It was cold and nobody cared, but we beat our hated rivals.
Any famous pro players that came from UND?
Lots. Because I mean, hockey, we've got. I mean, there's a wall down in the lower level of the Ralph.
What the
Where,
Colts are?
no, kind of down where the play, like where the locker rooms are.
Yep.
So like the players walk, but there's a wall of all the pro hockey players that ever came through UND.
Okay.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. So yeah, we've got good pedigree for being a pro athlete. If you wanna turn pro, you come to UND. Yeah.
And he'll help you.
I will help you. Yes.
So you have what is it, the 18?
1883 Collective. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what that is.
So a few years ago, you know, the NCAA ruled that um, college athletes could start making money off their name, image, and likeness, right?
Right.
So they could
They
start.
can't. They're not going to lose the Heisman.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So they can start getting paid. So 1883 Collective is we're a business that started to in short, like we find opportunities for athletes to serve the community. We find opportunities for athletes to get endorsement deals with local and regional and statewide businesses and put some money in their pocket. Try to make their life a little bit easier when they're at UND so that they can focus on sports and focus on academics and so that's in short sort of what we do. We're a third party organization that supports UND student athletes.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
If you could visit any place in the whole entire world, where would it be that you haven't seen already?
That I haven't seen. That's tough. I mean I think I'd love to go visit Ireland. I've had friends that have gone there that have just said it's awesome. Um, you said haven't been to, so if you would have said anywhere and you wouldn't have included that,
Well,
I've been to Italy and I would love to go back because I feel like I just scratched the surface when I was there.
you probably just
Uh,
did scratch the surface.
yeah, yeah. So I loved Italy, man, and that's just because I
How long were you there?
10 days.
Was it long enough?
No,
You need like
no,
three.
but I mean, I miss my kids, so it was time to
Right.
get back.
Yeah.
But I mean, for a guy that loves coffee and espresso and pizza and pasta,
Yeah.
pretty good place to be.
Right.
So,
Did you get any ideas from over there for your restaurant?
for sure, man. Well, I told people like we went to like Michelin starred restaurants, like 12-course meals, really, really fancy, and it was great. But I'll never forget the $6 sausage and onion pizza that I had at this little mom and pop shop. Like that was my best meal in Italy.
Right.
Was just like so. I think that reminded me like simple ingredients, quality ingredients. Doesn't have to be fancy.
Mhm.
It's really
Amen.
good. I dream about that sausage and onion pizza, man, from that little place. So yeah.
What's the biggest walleye you've ever caught?
Um,
Either regular fishing or ice fishing.
yeah, well, so here's the weird part about me. Like, I don't regular fish, I only ice fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
True North Dakota.
Yeah, yeah. So, I've had, a few like 26, 28 inches, some good.
Right.
Yep. So it's yeah.
Yeah.
I love ice fishing though. Like I go up to Lake of the Woods by myself and sit in an ice house and like that's my relax time.
Okay.
Like, no phone service, nothing. Sit there
I've been
over a hole and it's glorious. It's just fish all day.
I've been ice fishing once, but I didn't catch anything.
Yeah, I'll take you. We'll
Okay.
catch some fish. And we'll
Well,
eat,
you're up to that.
and we'll eat them that night. It's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome.
I'm down for that.
Yeah, you can come too. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to catch some.
Oh yeah, well that's the fun part. Yeah,
A
yeah,
little bitty ride.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
How hard is it to open a sober living house in North Dakota?
Well, I don't. I think it's not just North Dakota. I think it's a challenge anywhere. Um, because the ones that do it for the right reasons, um, it's hard because when you do it for the right reasons, which is to help people, then you invest more in it. And you invest more in regulations and rules, which means more staff.
Right.
And then, if you really want it to be a a healing environment, then you want it to be aesthetically pleasing, right? So I think there are examples of sober living houses across the country. And I'm not in North Dakota. I've seen where they're profit centers. Like people open them up to make money off the recovery community, and they're not safe and they're not healthy. So I think it's harder. It's harder when you want to do it anywhere for the right reasons, because for all the reasons that I just listed. It's something though that we recognize in North Dakota that we know we need more of. I think going into, I think the governor is really interested in housing in general, not just sober housing, but reentry housing, um, you know, housing for, our neighbors facing homelessness.
Right.
Because we know like it's hard to do anything if you don't have a roof over your head.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to keep a job if you don't have an address. It's hard to keep a job if you can't take a shower and wash your clothes, right?
Right.
So like housing is critical for helping people get back on their
Right.
journey of being productive. So I know that for the next 18 months and then going into the next legislative session in 18 months when that starts again, that the governor's office is committed to working on sort of what that's going to look like and how the governor's office can help and how we can help. And then we'll talk with the legislature about it in 18 months, and
Yep.
hopefully they want to help too.
So we both had the opportunity to speak at a conference
We did.
a few weeks ago in Fargo.
Yep.
The Ridge and Justice Well
Yep.
conference.
Yep.
For peer support and stuff like that. And I heard you mention, by the way, you had a great speech.
Thank you. So did you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just don't have my slideshows yet.
You don't need a slideshow. That's funny.
But I heard you mention about educating your kids.
Yeah.
And so I'll give you an example. So this past 4th of July weekend, I had a vendor booth, right? And I was giving out free Narcan.
Yep.
So someone told whoever was running the whole thing that they had a problem with us giving out free Narcan.
Yeah.
Maybe because of their kids. You know what I mean? Like that.
How dare you trying to save lives?
Well, that goes in a couple ways. One,
Yeah.
is some people are just ignorant to what they don't know.
Yep.
And they and then you got old school North Dakotans that
Yeah.
still have it on the, you know what I mean? Like we don't talk about that or things like that. So how has it been for you educating your children?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I talk about this a lot, so thanks for bringing it up because I think it's really important. I was sober before my kids were born, so like my kids have only known me sober.
Right.
I was sober before I met my wife, so my wife has only known me sober.
That's probably a good thing.
So yeah, it is. It is. And because of that, my wife is, we affectionately call a normie, right? Like, so her life is manageable. She enjoys a glass of wine every now and then. But
she comes home or
yeah, right.
normal bedtime,
Yeah,
things
exactly.
like that.
But because of that, like my kids at an early age started asking questions like, how come mom can have a glass of wine and dad can't? So you got two choices when they start asking those questions. You can lie or you can be honest.
Right.
And we just chose at an early age to be honest and just talk to them about it. And just talked about the fact that my brain is different. It handles these things different. Not a moral failing. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It's just different. We talk about addiction. We talk about just the dangers of sort of what they need to look out for. My kid's going to be my oldest going to be a freshman in high school now this year. So like we know she's going to get exposed to some of this stuff. Drugs and alcohol are around in high schools, whether they like it or not. But like I don't think we give kids enough credit for understanding this stuff, especially if we talk to them about it. There's different ways that you talk to a 16-year-old different than you talk to a 7-year-old. But like my kids, through regular conversations about what addiction is and what they need to look out for and how they can be allies to their friends who might have some stuff going on at home that's tough. Like they get it. They understand it. But I think we get at times like, oh, if we bring it up to elementary school kids, are we encouraging it? Are we telling them about something that, And I just think that's BS.
Right.
I think we don't give kids enough credit for understanding stuff. Yeah, their brains are developing, but I mean, so are ours probably, right?
Right.
So like we've just been open and honest with our kids about addiction, about the fact that dad's in recovery, that he's damn proud of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
And we also just talked to them about the fact that um, substance use disorders are partially genetic.
Mm-hmm.
It's in their blood, so they're going to have to be extra diligent because
Right.
they're more likely to be subjected to substance use disorder than a kid whose parents don't have it in their blood.
Yep.
So it's been good, man. I think the more we can get out in elementary schools, like I don't know why we're not creating adorable little armies of allies
Right.
right at the elementary school level so that when a kid in middle school is going through some stuff that their classmates know how to help them
Right.
or
Because
at
middle
least know how to
school
talk to
is.
them.
I've interviewed a lot of people,
Yeah,
and for the last 5 years, and when I ask people, how old were you when you first tried drugs and alcohol? And 90 something percent of the people I've asked
yeah,
have been in
that's what I'm
middle
saying.
school.
I think if we start in middle school, we're too late.
Right.
If we start that conversation in middle school, 90% of those kids have at least been exposed to it, if not tried it.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I, we all know what it's like when you get put in a situation that you don't understand and there's peer pressure involved.
Right.
And it's even harder when you're in middle school,
Going
than
through
when you're an adult.
puberty.
Yeah, like they're going through some stuff already. So, dedicating one short unit in eighth grade health class,
Mm-hmm.
come on, that ain't gonna cut it. And I think what disappoints me the most is just, and this is national, this isn't, I'm not talking about North Dakota, I'm talking about nationally here, is like we've seen an opioid crisis
Mm-hmm.
for the past decade in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen overdoses skyrocket
Right.
for the past 20 years in this country.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't changed our methodology in terms of why aren't we trying to get to kids earlier?
Right.
Like we got to get upstream here a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. So I don't think it's too late. Um, I'm happy that I've talked to a lot of different schools at the middle school level. If there's any elementary school that wants to have you or me come talk,
Right.
we would accept it in a heartbeat,
Right.
you know? Uh, so yeah, that's my spiel on kids. Like, give them more credit for being able to understand this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It can't hurt. Like, it can't hurt.
Amen to that. Well, I want to thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, man. This was awesome.
Yep. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
It's an honor to have you here. And
honored to be here.
thanks for sharing with us.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to thank everybody for tuning in
Thank you.
to another episode of Super Talk with Brothers Brandon, the Raging Cajun. It's Monday, baby. Jonathan HOLTH, Commissioner of Recovery and Reentry for the state of North Dakota, and 17 years of sobriety. There it is.
There it
He
is.
marks it every time. Well, congratulations, brother.
Thanks.
I look forward to doing more work with you,
Same.
and it's always a pleasure to see you. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Shout out to all the sponsors: Tied for Second, Sober Living, New Freedom Center, The Ridge, Trevor Recovery Center, Preferred Heating and Air, the House of Fade, all the people, Serenity Bridge, Sober Living, all the people that show love to Sober Talk. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And thank you, North Dakota, for all the work you're doing, all the peer supports. Thank you for saving my life, saving his life, and everybody else, all the lives that are being saved. But if you can't stay sober, catch your Uber. And the words of my great grand sponsor, Jack Height, if nobody told you yet, we love you, baby. Peace and chicken grease. Hit the song.
Sober Talk with Brother Brandon, the Raging Cajun. It's the weekend, baby.
All right.
Yes. Stop.